All right, guys. So, finally getting on to the authentic sci-fi show. We'll probably think of a better name for that. Boldly going where everyone's gone before. So I'm going to introduce you to my co-host for this show. That's going to be my friend Nick.
Hey.
Got a few more years on me, and I know he's got some different... actually, starting here, one of the things I said last week in the podcast, and I'm pretty sure you haven't seen it yet, when I was telling Lincoln what he should actually watch, I told him that Star Trek Picard and Star Trek Discovery are some of my favorite shows, and that he should watch them as a Star Wars fan. I was pretty sure you'd have a different perspective on that, because did you enjoy both of those when they came out?
Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Star Trek Picard, what was the other one you said?
Discovery. And I know you enjoy Discovery because, for the...
Season 4, 18th of November, FYI.
Yeah, and I'm not... Well, hey, I know you enjoy it because you got the jacket.
I did.
The shirt.
I did. Jumper.
The jumper. So, the Star Trek Discovery jumper, I didn't even need to see it from the front. I knew what it was from behind. But... so Nick's got more of a passion for sci-fi than I do, which is great. But which one have you been sci-fi in general, or specific?
I'm a really specific type person. If it's good, I happily watch Star Wars. I have no issue with Star Wars. I like the live-action movies, the cartoons, don't know, but I'm more of a Star Trek kind of person. Look, I didn't mind, I like the movies, even though it was a bit cool, like Galaxy Quest, Sequest, DSV, that's an old one.
Oh, yeah.
That sort of genre. I do, go out of the Star Trek things every now and then, but that's my jam.
No, well, I started with Star Trek.
Yep.
I think I was 6.
Can't stand the original series, though. Sorry, that's all I have to say about that.
I enjoy some of the original series, like 1 or 2 episodes, but I can't go back. And the whole submarine thing in space, to me, just doesn't work anymore. Especially when you add on Discovery and you see these ships that have nothing to do with that beep and that sonar.
Yeah. Or whatever it is.
I know they took, submarines in space to that, that degree, But I mean, we did get flip phones and other things from Star Trek.
We did.
Technology. But I mean, I think I watched Stargate before I watched.
I love Stargate. Sorry.
Yeah.
Not the one with MacGyver. Who was that MacGyver?
Richard Dean Anderson. That was okay, but I tell you the one I really liked was Stargate Atlantis. Yeah. No, I enjoyed Atlantis. I think the SG-1 series. Because I watched the movie first. And so watching James Spader...
I did like that movie. I like James Spader.
Yeah, so I love James Spader. But watching Michael Shanks take over from James Spader, I thought, man, I couldn't even tell the difference originally. But then when I just loved Michael Shanks' performance. So my dad was a MacGyver fan.
So was my mother. She used to watch it all the time. So, I mean, I watched it, and the amazing things you could do with the Swiss Army knife and duct tape,
The funny thing is, I went and watched the new MacGyver.
Oh, I can't stand it.
I actually didn't mind it, but I know my father couldn't stand it. And only because, the updated version, never doing everything on your own, that kind of stuff. But, yeah, Star Trek for me, it's always been interesting because it's continuously updated. Even when it goes back in the past or updating, it's interesting how they play with the time frame. And my favorite movie for a long time was First Contact.
Yes. Assimilate this.
Well, it wasn't just because of that. I think because I loved Undiscovered Country.
Oh, that's of the original series. That and The Whales is my favourite movie, The Undiscovered Country.
The Voyage Home.
That's it. Yeah, I love those two. They were good. The movies were good. The first couple were a bit, with the flying into V'ger or whatever.
V'ger.
V'ger and the one Cybok, and they had to pass the galactic barrier and all that. That was all right. But though, Undiscovered Country, I love it.
Going and facing God.
Yeah.
But
don't you know? Aren't you God?
It's certainly an interesting that one. Speaking of which, William Shatner went to
I know,
to space. Did you see what he said to the flat earthers when he got back?
No, it's funny. As I was just leaving work to come to the podcast today, I was just reading the news, and that was the next story up, and I was like, oh, I'm late, I gotta go. And yes, but no, what did he say?
He said, to all the flat earthers out there, he said, I've been to space, yes, it's round, but if it wasn't, the cats would have pushed everything off before now. It was just, and then I watched him do something else, like a autocomplete. He didn't take any of it seriously. He's like, William Shatner does he, what's his favourite film? Oh, there are so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just that humour. Very interesting. What did you think about the J.J. Abrams films when they came out? Being a Star Trek.
I liked them. To see them once, and I'm happy. Do I want to watch them again like I do with Next Gen? Like, you know, they got Voyager and Deep Space Nine and all that sort of stuff on Foxtel.
Yep.
Happy to sit there and watch those again. You know, my in-laws, if it's on at their... Not that they purposely watch it, but they might flick through the channels and I'll go, okay, ask Nick what this episode is. There's a guy and he's doing this, and then I go, okay, that's the episode. Okay, what's the season? They do that. Happily to watch that again, but the movies, I was happy to see them once, and it's like, yeah, next.
I actually really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
But even I sat there in the first one, my 30th birthday, I sat in the first film, and I'm judging it to Star Trek standards.
Yes, I think that's what I did.
And going, this is Star Wars.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a surprise to me to find out J.J. Abrams thought it was a Star Wars. He wanted to make it into a Star Wars film. I couldn't handle the phasers doing, you know, the Star Wars fires, you know.
Yep. But they used that in Picard.
They did.
Those phases are in Picard.
So, I mean, just, you know.
And Discovery. Sorry to interrupt.
No. That's the thing. They've updated... Discovery at the start was using the old style phases, and then they come to the Forward to the Future. So it basically saying that the Kelvin timeline got it first, but it was still, I don't know. I really enjoyed the second film. I know, even though it was a Khan, I hated the first Khan film.
Oh, me too. That was annoying.
You know, and I love Benedict Cumberbatch as an actor, so watching him play. Didn't matter if he was playing Khan. I thought he did a better job than the first guy. So
yes,
yeah.
Look. Maybe I'll rephrase my answer. It's not because of what you said, but I did like the last one they did with Idris Elba.
Star Trek Beyond.
That's it. Yes, that was a good one. That was a good one.
That one.
Happily watched that.
Simon Pegg wrote that.
Yes, I like Simon Pegg.
And wrote it because he wanted to have more of a Star Trek feel. Funny enough, it was the one I had struggled with the most. I don't know why.
But I think the other thing about those movies, particularly that Star Trek Beyond one, was that, and those new ones, is that they pulled a lot of high-profile actors that you would not normally see. I mean, obviously Patrick Stewart, having done Professor X and X-Men and all that sort of stuff,
which he did after Next Generation.
Correct. He's Hollywood royalty or whatever you want to call it. But it was good that those Star Treks, they brought, you know, people like Chris Pine, certainly Simon Pegg, Thor, what's his name, Chris Hemsworth, Idris Elba, all those sort of people that you wouldn't.
Well, they even weren't really known back then. Yeah,
no, but to bring them in like a different sort of, to step outside of the normal plate that you...
Almost a thespian.
Correct, yes. The usual character call list. It was good that they did that. I liked it. And I think that they did it well. Like, certainly Chris Hemsworth, as Kirk's dad. And
before the muscles.
Yeah, absolutely. It was just good to see a bit of fresh.
Yeah, that's
a different, and obviously that's what JJ brought to it.
For me, it was seeing Leonard Nimoy play off against himself.
Oh, it wasn't that good, and he calls him Dad at the end, and he to what was he says to give my usual greeting,
be oddly self-serving.
Self-serving.
But that for me, because I'd never seen a Spock like that. Because Leonard Nimoy's Spock was so calm, very rarely get angry, and everything Zachary Quinto's Spock did came from a stem of anger.
Yes,
he never really let go of that anger. That was actually one of the things that I hated the most. The guy that played Sarek in that film, I really enjoyed the classical Sarek. He played it like so well in the original, and then in Next Generation, and it just I couldn't get behind Sarek. And yet in Star Trek Discovery, the guy that played Sarek in that, totally on board with.
I was thinking about that. I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to divert what you were talking about. But now that you've gone there, yes, I liked him. He was really good, and he really fit. He really fit that role, and really fit the parent. Like, you know how they cast characters, and that was a really good character fit for him to be Sarek. So totally agree with you.
Well, for me, it was Vulcans in general. In that, in the new films were very much broader and more rigid, and that they just looked thicker. I can't explain that better than that. The Romulans also looked thicker, thicker ears.
I think I can't remember seeing many Romulans in Star Trek Enterprise, but I liken them to the Vulcans in Star Trek Enterprise. They had that thickness. I get what you're talking about.
But even in the originals, the Vulcans and Romulans had a similar ancestry. And that plays out in Discovery, where they come together, and I'm never going to be able to take Vulcan out of the... Finding out Vulcan had changed its name was... I can't remember the new one, can you?
Navarre.
Vulcan and Romulus I get. Navarre was... anyway.
Nah, don't get that one either.
But that, and also the Klingons in the movies, that was hard for me, after having Worf as a...
I know.
Michael Dorn played it so well, and then suddenly you've got... I could get behind it in Discovery. It took me a while.
Yeah, they were really different. I must admit, first seeing, I was like, oh, what's this?
Especially when they're talking about eating the previous captain.
Yes, I know. I got the bones off her skull or something like that. I was like, oh, okay.
There's certainly an interest...
That doesn't happen in Star Trek. I mean, we know it happens, but you don't hear about it. You know what?
I remember seeing Patrick Stewart saying he was really affronted with the language that was allowed in Picard.
Yes, so was I, because that's not like the biggest swear word that I've ever heard was when the Enterprise D the saucer was crashing into the planet, and Data goes, oh, beep. And I was like, oh.
But you didn't hear it. It's like...
No, yes. And you go, oh, okay. But then Discovery with the Fs and the whatever, like...
Well, Picard was worse.
We're not in... Yeah, I know. Admiral Picard, would you just shut the truck up? And I was like, oh, we're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy.
It was certainly an interesting expression of... I was suddenly missing Gene Roddenberry. That's probably been my one main criticism of the new series, that the great vision he saw for the future of humanity coming together and working towards a brand new, all-inclusive society, a couple of generations later, literally tearing themselves apart again. Yeah, I mean, and okay, Picard had the Romulan... I mean, I was starting to think, doesn't Starfleet do background checks? You know? How did so many of these things happen? How did Picard get kicked out? how did everything they set up with the Romulan homeworld and Picard and Spock trying to save them, and then suddenly that's the wrong thing to do. It's like I must admit about Star Trek Picard, the first few episodes are a bit hard to digest because exactly what you're saying, it just didn't marry up. Now, look, I get things go wrong and all this sort of stuff. It can't be always perfect, but you would have thought, with all the stuff that they talked about in Next Generation where this doesn't happen anymore and they got rid of this and they got rid of that, you would think that, how did this stuff creep back in? Because everything is so structured and helping and all this, but then everything's gone to the pack, and it's like, oh, okay, that doesn't happen. And maybe, obviously, Picard wasn't the commander-in-chief of Starfleet, but I would have thought that instead of him having to resign, they would have said, look, great point, love everything you've said. It's not a no, but just not today. So you keep being an admiral somewhere and do stuff. And then he did that. And then even when that other admiral called up Raffi and she goes, I'm going to get fired. That's not Starfleet. But no, it's today's world, very much so.
Correct.
And
yes.
and I saw the producers talking about the fact that they wanted to, like the original Star Trek, show the vision that the world had at that point. I'm kind of think. If we go back to the 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was not as. It was about the fact that we were segregated. So having a unified crew and having Nichelle Nicholas on Enterprise was a big thing, and you see bits and pieces of that with the android story. That was already covered with Data. It was
like, my personal opinion, it was like they just put the formula bits in there, like, oh, we've got to have that, we've got to have that, we've got to have that, but there was no rhyme or reason. Like you watch things like The Next Generation, and when they'd have a particular storyline which was a bit confronting, it had a reason. Like, it had a reason why this group was disenfranchised, or why this had to happen, or why they were against that. But in Picard, it seemed to me like they just add, oh, we've got to have this. Okay, put that over there. Oh, we've got to have this. Just put that there. We've got to have that. But it didn't link into the... So it was like you're watching and you go, oh, that's strange. But it didn't tie it in and say, okay, well, this is why we had that, and this is what, That's how it felt to me.
It will be interesting to see where they go, because I've heard rumours that Picard will be meeting up with Discovery, that he was high enough a rank to maybe know about Discovery in the first place. Mm-hmm. We know they're doing time travel.
Well, Picard is actually mentioned in Discovery. So...
Was it the previous season or the new trailer?
Yes, the previous season's just gone. Burnham pulls something from the library computer, and she asks around, tell me all about this. She doesn't ask about Picard specific. Yeah, something about Spock. And the computer says, "Oh, this is taken from the classified files of Admiral Jean-Luc Picard." And
Unit 5, because Next Generation, Spock was with Picard when they went for unification. Yes,
I thought that even though it was a very loose link, they are linking it.
Yeah, it would be certainly interesting to see where they go with that. I'm looking forward to that. But I think I don't know. I haven't even watched the new trailer. I'm kind of wanting to go in blind. I have heard that Vija.
Say no more.
I have heard that though that this unknown source or whatever is signal that rumors are that it could be Vija
in Discovery. Yes, yeah.
Rumors are it could be Vija, and I'm like, really? We're going back to that?
Yeah.
However, the AI invasion that almost happened in last season of Picard, because the whole time I was thinking this is the Borg. But
that's what I did too.
The Borg looked like they wanted to wipe them out just as much as anyone else. So, that to me was interesting, because I immediately went, oh, maybe this is Vija's, because the only other tech human that I'd ever seen in Star Trek was the Vija storyline.
Yeah.
And that they'd wiped out humanity.
And they've never really said where the Borg come from or how they started, unless I'm missing something.
No, but there was a novel. Obviously, in Star Trek, it's either canon or not canon, depending on the producers. But there was a canon, originally a canon novel that William Shatner wrote, where the Borg, after Kirk dies on the planet in Next Generations, the Borg
reanimate him,
transport him, reanimate him, and then he and Spock have a conversation where Spock says that, you know, the hive mind did not attack him because he was considered already part of the hive mind.
Yes.
And the only way he theorized was the V'Ger interaction. They haven't explained, but we know from Star Trek Voyager that the Borg originated in the Delta Quadrant.
Yes.
It would be interesting to see how.
And where did because I don't know, I don't remember.
V'Ger he originated on Earth, obviously.
Right.
We don't know where he went. He could have gone to the Delta Quadrant, but I don't think there was enough time.
I feel with that they're leaving that to blow our minds. I reckon in some series, in some way, they're going to circle back to where the Borg come from. It's going to blow our minds. Well, I have no idea or thoughts, but
we obviously know that Star Trek Discovery is dealing with. They've just dealt with Control. Picard's still dealing with Borg. And so we know there's another Borg Queen.
Yes, that's a spin out. Like, does that? I'm inferring from that obviously Star Trek, obviously Starfleet captured a queen and they've got her.
No, apparently it's the exact same queen. And because this is what I was just reading
on the E that he.
So the one that died on the E didn't actually die. Her consciousness is in the Borg collective.
Right.
So they just create, because her body was entirely right, apart from the face. But even when you see the face, it's all Borg. So it would actually make sense that she couldn't die. If you'd have to get rid of the original queen.
Upload, yeah. So are you inferring from that Starfleet have got her in a secret of their facility?
No,
Picard knows where she is or something.
I mean, obviously, the after Voyager ended, they kind of continued the story where there was a Borg queen on Earth and stuff like that. I didn't really read a lot of those novels.
No, me neither.
I read enough to see that 7 and 9 became a hero because she took on the queen. That obviously didn't happen. So that was the most interesting part of Picard for me, seeing 7 and 9 back in the fold. But what has me interested is, so far, 2 of the series, Control and Android. It wouldn't surprise me if, you know, Control is part of what's happening in Picard, and, you know, it's all interconnected in a way that we're just not seeing. What do you think? The most Star Trek things I've seen recently is in the animations.
Oh yes, Prodigy.
Prodigy I haven't seen yet, but even
Lower Decks.
Even with Lower Decks, because you don't actually. I know the original idea for Star Trek Discovery was it was going to be an anthology, and that it would only deal with Lower Decks. And it seems like they've taken that idea and put it into the animation, so they can do the. You know, now we've got a captain again and Captain Burnham. So
yeah, well, because that's what I agree with you. That's what it was. It was like. Oh, you know, when you were reading all the read-ups and the hype about what's happening, it was like, oh, you know, it's going to follow this African-American woman who's a lieutenant commander and she's a bit lower down the track, and we're not sort of going to be involved in the bridge and the captain and all that. And it was absolutely opposite. She wasn't a lieutenant commander, she was a commander, second in command. Then she got booted again, you know. Mutiny, a little bit of does that happen in Star Trek, you know? I mean, it does, but, you know, it doesn't feature so heavily. And then all that, and then now she's a captain, and it's like, oh, okay, well, we didn't really follow that for too long, but, you know, we're back to the captain and the bridge, and she's in charge, and the admirals and all that.
I got to admit, the first episode of Star Trek Discovery, what I was thinking by the end of the second episode was, if you considered Kirk's history, even if you're looking at the new films, everything he does up until the moment that he saves people on Vulcan, all right, is a mutinous event. And yet the captain goes, "Oh well, you're second officer. There's no, you're going to be fired. You know, we can see you're trying to do the best thing here." And then you look at Star Trek Discovery, which is set in the same time period, and someone who actually maybe started a war, but it wasn't intentionally, and advised by a Vulcan ambassador, and yet she's booted. Like, in the original Star Trek, the Vulcans seemed to have a lot more authority than what they seem to do in Discovery. So that was, again, the more I dissect it, the more I'm like, you know, I get the story, I love the story, but sometimes there's those pieces. But yeah, the animation seemed to be the really feel good. And the other one is Seth. What was it? The Orville.
Oh, I love that. Absolutely love it. I cannot wait for the third season.
Third season's going to be under Disney.
Yes, apparently it's already filmed.
It's in production. It's all done. Yeah.
Yeah. What I've read was that it's done. They're just waiting to release it for some reason.
Or maybe they've got a virus on there. I got to admit, Seth MacFarlane's comedy sometimes does leave a little bit.
It's risky.
That first episode.
Yes. It's risky.
But it does seem to be the more Star Trek. You know, you could see his love for Star Trek in it. And,
oh yeah.
You know, Robert Picardo coming back to play a character.
Marina Sirtis.
Speaking of which, how did you?
Riker, bloody. Oops. What's his name? Jonathan Frakes directed some episodes.
Yeah, and speaking of those two, how was it for you when they turned up in Picard?
Oh, tearjerker. I'm not going to lie. It was just. But I want to discuss that with you. And if you're happy to go there, it was beautiful. Him and Riker were great, especially when they were sitting on the dock of that thing, and it was a tearjerker for me, because I know Patrick Stewart said, "Oh, this is not going to be a trip down memory lane, and let's see where all the Star Trek: The Next Generation cast members are." But that's what people want, and I think it was really lovely to see that. But he introduces when Daj, the android that he's with, when they turn up, and he says something. This is
Android's daughter,
first officer, Will Riker. But then he says, and I can't find anything anywhere on all the forums. He says, and this is Commander Deanna Troi. Well, why did he introduce her by rank? Wouldn't he say this is Deanna? Because him and her had such a meaningful. She was his rock all throughout the Next Gen. She knew about all the, his brother and nephew burning in the fire. La 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 la. Not going to be able to have a family. She helped him through, when he was made a child in Rascals and Next Generation, all that sort of stuff. To me, it felt very. And then she gives him a burst in that episode and says, pull your head in, mate. But why? I know it might seem innocuous, but why did he? This is Will. They shared. But this is Commander Deanna Troi. Introduce her by a title. Why didn't he say this is Deanna?
Well, I think you answered it when you said this is Will Riker, my first officer. The title is there to begin with. I think Picard was always that kind of straight-laced. Now it should have been. This is my number one.
Yeah. I have to watch it again because I can't exactly remember what he said, but I know. But then, sorry to cut you off, The other thing was when he shut down Data's consciousness.
Yes.
That was another tearjerker. Oh my gosh. Because I knew he liked Data. I knew he was very fond of Data, but I didn't know he loved him like he that came out in the thing. But then when Data asked to shut him down and the he was leaving the consciousness to go into his golem body, yes, I think you're right. He said to Data, "Goodbye, Commander," because it was a very touching moment formal. Before that. But then, and maybe that's, I don't know, maybe that's so he didn't get hurt by it, so he, brought it back to the formal, because it was a very touching moment. And then he says, "Goodbye, Commander," instead of going, "Goodbye, Data."
My assumption would be that that formal French, because remember, he was a French, even though he's English, French vineyard owner. He'd grown up in France and very much, if you think back to Next Generation when they're on the ship, he's like, this is the day. But, that's the only time he's really informal with Will. Even when he's on the ship, it's Commander, where, someone else is there. I think if they didn't have the android there, it would have been, "It's really good to see you, Will."
Yeah,
really good to see you.
Probably you're right. Could have been, I mean, we're never going to know, but it could be establishing trust and rapport. This is she's not just Johnny Come-Away's Commander Deanna Troi, she's da-da-da-da, because Daj was very untrusting.
And as for Data, I think despite its flaws, Nemesis really showed that interaction between, if you think of First Contact, the whole last act is him going to get Data, who really... Starfleet would have just said, "No, he's an android."
Yeah.
The one needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few. That's true, but you're going for one person who's actually not a person. And I think Picard right then is saying, "No, he's a friend. He's a very dear friend." So, and then when you look at his love for the android in Nemesis, even before, like the passion he has in the old style. The car and stuff like that, he really enjoyed that aspect. And that's something I haven't considered, because I was like, "Oh, why did he say that?" But anyway, I get it. I think it's very formal in that. But I got to admit, Brent Spiner's coming back.
Yes, as Dr. Alton Sung,
and apparently another character that's got nothing to do. And this is the thing, right? I knew he didn't want to do Data anymore.
No, that's right. Yes.
Right. So, letting him pass away in that way, Picard. I got to tell you, I mean, technically he's got this unlimited body. With the reserves to go to his normal lifespan. I liked how the writers kind of said when Picard's dead, it's because Patrick Stewart's dead, kind of thing. You can only survive until you're supposed to die. But Brent Spiner, Independence Day.
Yeah, I like those movies.
So Brent Spiner's in Independence Day.
Correct.
Right, in both of them. I mean, I like the second one, but I didn't really like the last act of the second one.
I like the second one better than the first one. Yes.
You did?
Yes.
For me, it was missing Will Smith.
Yeah, it was. I agree. And to say that he was dead, that was like, oh, okay.
I mean,
that was a bit of a cheap shot. It's like, oh, he's not here because he's dead. Yep. Okay, that's good. Don't need to explain that one.
But it was more than that for me as well. It was kind of like when you get the alien queen right at the end. This is like out of a video game.
Chasing the school bus.
It was really out of a video game. It's like, let's fight. Let's, I mean, I've seen that in a few movies, but Brent Spiner in that movie didn't disappoint.
No.
I was waiting for a sequel to that film. I was so disappointed. It was the same disappointment I had when I heard Star Trek, the Stargate wasn't going to had that sequel film that oh man. Now I'm hearing about a possible Stargate resurgence and
just a quick segue. I know this is, but did you hear that Babylon 5 is getting a?
Yes, I heard about it before you told me.
I was never a big fan of Babylon 5.
It's funny, but no. Yes. I agree. In fact, when I was talking to you about that initially, in my head I was thinking Farscape.
Yes.
Right, so I was like, I'm so excited because I was watching Babylon. No, I was actually watching Farscape. And yet, the funny thing is, and what irritated me with SG-1 is when the Farscape characters came on SG-1. Ben Browder just didn't bring it. It just didn't. I don't know what... So intensity of action. It's funny. I remember seeing the guy that played Tilk in Stargate in Batman Dark Knight Rises.
Yes, yep.
Right, and thinking, well, at least he's still getting some bit parts. I didn't realise he was a games, right? Did you realise that in that Atlantis episode when Ronan's fighting Tilk, that you were watching someone that's going to be in Batman and someone that's going to be in Aquaman?
No, I did not.
Would you even imagine?
No, I thought, oh, he's different. Okay, yep, he'll be in this show. Oh, okay, he's Aquaman. Oh, geez, he's in Dawn of oh God, okay.
He really pulls off that Aquaman look. I can't imagine anyone else doing him anymore.
No.
Like the carefully sculpted blonde king is gone. But I loved him as Ronan.
Yeah, for sure.
In fact, for me, the hardest part of Stargate Atlantis, not Star Trek Atlantis, that'd be weird, but Star Trek Atlantis, the next series, the Undiscovered Country.
Yeah, yes, copyright.
But the hardest part was season 1 because of Lieutenant Franks, or whatever his name was, because being too IC and yet being so green. When Ronan comes on board, that it really felt like Teal'c was back. You know, it's like they had to go and get, like Taylor didn't fill the void. She was supposed to, but then when they brought Ronan in, Taylor was kind of like calmed down.
Yeah, Taylor was an interesting character. I liked her, but on the other hand, she annoyed me. You know, she was all supposed to be tough and Yahoo, and yes, every now and then she could defend everybody, but then all the other times she was getting captured, and then they had to go on. Oh, for goodness sake.
I got to admit it, when I was watching Stargate Atlantis, the one question I had all the time I was watching it was, why can't we just make a deal with the Wraith? The deal is, let's take you back to the Alpha, to Earth, put you on the Gould planets and let you feed.
Yeah.
You know? Smorgasbord.
Yeah, come on, sort it out, guys.
There's plenty here. I mean, I know they're trying to protect Earth, but seriously, there were diplomatic channels wherever.
Absolutely. It's not like they couldn't have sorted that one out.
I got to admit, when watching Anubis try to take on Earth, I'm like, so how can you still be secret after all this? Or even having the Asgardians be little aliens from ET.
Oh, jeez. That was like that. That's like that movie. Mel Gibson was in it, Signs.
Yeah.
And those aliens that are affected tremendously by water come to a planet that's 70-80% water. Like, what were you thinking, producers? Hello.
Well, even the Replicator.
Yeah.
You know, you're telling me that someone who's had technology on Earth that's been hidden for centuries cannot handle a little robot.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that a species as intelligent as the Asgard, that actually knows what the Furlong look like, that they cannot solve a mating issue.
Yep.
Why go cloning? I mean,
yeah. Sometimes with these shows, you got to go, oh, okay, I'm going to have to put that aside and look, they can't find. Oh, gee.
Now, so Emily, my fiance, had never actually watched Star Wars. I know. She, and so a couple of weeks ago we watched the first episode, Phantom Menace, because I wanted to start it from there, so when we get to episode 4, I don't have to explain who the characters are. And
so sad that Qui-Gon Jinn got killed.
Well, you heard the. I mean, he was the first to come back in the Force. So how does that line up with ancient history of all the history? You know, if you look at Star Wars: The Old Republic game, the MMO, there's like Sith Lords running there everywhere. Palpatine himself, with Rise of Skywalker, I tell you, just terrible stuff.
Yeah.
Because I heard someone the other day say Rise of Skywalker is his favourite film, and I almost slapped him. I don't know why. I couldn't get behind it, even though it was pretty much the exact story that was in a comic
Yeah. No, I didn't get it either. Quick segue. Mandalorian. I like that on Disney.
Yes, Mandalorian. One of the reasons why I said to Emily, "Go to watch Star Wars," is I know you liked watching a couple of Mandalorian episodes, but did you understand it? She was like, "No."
I really did like that. That was good.
It's interesting because Dave
could not figure out who the Mandalorian was until he took his helmet off and go, I was not expecting that guy.
Pedro Pascal.
Yeah. I mean, he was great in Wonder Woman 84.
What about... I'm going to come back to that. What about Bo-Katan? In so the end of Mandalorian Season 2, the female Mandalorian that always takes her helmet off.
Yes.
So she was from the Clone Wars.
Yes.
And voiced by the same actor that played her.
Okay, yes.
Right, so there might be a pause here for a little bit if a motorbike comes real past. But yeah, okay, coming back to that Pedro Pascal and Wonder Woman.
Yes.
Did you enjoy the film?
Loved it.
I couldn't stand it.
Oh, true. Sorry, I take that back. I didn't love it. I liked it because there was a couple of things like we've just discussed that were a bit like, what's her face turning into that cat thing? What's her name? What's her name?
Tigress.
Yes, turning it. That was like, oh, okay.
Because she was originally she's in the comics as a person of Themyscira who turned to the goddess Hecate for that power.
Yes, yeah.
So no, to me, Wonder Woman 1984 took away from anything that Justice League did. It didn't matter which version, and Justice League, the Zack Snyder version, was to me the far superior version. Right?
Oh yes, completely agree. Worth every minute.
But seeing Steve come back the way he did,
I hate Steve. I hate it. I can't stand it because Wonder Woman in the original series, in the Diana Prince, I love you, Diana. They didn't do anything like that, and it's just ruined it for me that they love each other. You knew it in the original series, but it didn't.
At least in the original film, they told each other and then he blew up. Like they may have experimented in things that men were not needed for, but
yes, that's why I want the latest one. I like it, but it's ruined it for me. And she could at least do the twirl and turn into Wonder Woman. I don't like it that she just has the outfit on under.
The best part of that film for me was when you see the original Wonder Woman at the end.
Oh, Linda Carter at the end.
You know, seeing her there, the original, whatever she is in that film, the original Amazonian or whatever.
Yeah, something starting with A. I can't think of it now.
Yeah, but yeah, so seeing her in the end was really cool. But it was just one of those films I don't own. Like.
No, I've got it download. I've got it on the paid thing, but that's it. I'm not going to buy a copy.
Now, the Batman trailer. For those viewers out there, Nick's face... Well, not viewers, listeners. Nick's face just went into dismal reaction. One of the things that I said initially when I heard that Robert Pattinson was going to be Batman was, are you kidding me? How you can't go from Ben Affleck... To me, the best example on screen of Bruce Wayne and Batman. The reason I say that, I'll get back to that in a minute. You can't go to Robert Pattinson. And then watching the trailer, I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this film.
No, I agree. I can't stand Robert Pattinson as Batman. Oh,
I mean, I'm still going to give it a chance.
Me too. I'll watch it. I've given everything I hate a chance. But I just know, like, he's the Twilight guy. That's where his box is. And then he did that movie Tenet, which I hated.
I actually didn't mind Tenet.
Okay.
And that was the one reason I saw Tenet and I was like, maybe I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can see it. I think we were recording once. But yeah, it was interesting. I think, yeah, maybe. I'm going to give it a chance. But, okay, so my favourite Batman live action Batman was Ben Affleck.
Okay.
I don't know what I said that your eyes just went, yeah, no.
No, that's not true. I liked Ben Affleck as Batman. He did it justice. My favourite one will always be Christian Bale.
See, for me, someone who studied and pushed himself to the limits of his... The thing about Christian Bale's montage of physical... I mean, he's there. But if you look at Ben Affleck and his montage that they had in Justice League where he's pushing the weights and you're like, this guy has pushed himself to the point where he is... And
got nothing left.
The way that he did Bruce Wayne running into Metropolis as Superman's attacking it, and the care that his employees cared for him, and all that kind of stuff. It was that to me was amazing, interesting perspective of both Bruce Wayne and Batman. So for me, my favorite Batman is still the animated version with Kevin Conroy.
Okay.
Simply because, for me, growing up, that was the 90s, that kind of genre Batman. And then seeing Kevin Conroy in the Arrowverse crossover.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
You know, seeing him as a dark, twisted version of himself was very interesting, but definitely not my favourite on screen. And you know, Michael Keaton kind of had it, but again, I think Ben Affleck's...
Ben Affleck was good at it. Yes.
I think it was that muscular, like you could see him being just as dangerous. You think going up against Bane, and physically being able to take on someone who's junked up on steroids. I can't see Christian Bale being able to do that. No.
Well, yeah, okay, so yeah.
That's my perspective. That's why he became my favorite. And also the way that in Batman vs Superman, when he attacks the row above, the way that he sets off the bombs and then just comes in and wreaks havoc.
Yes,
like that to me is what Batman. You're not stopping and caring about. The grenades come and chuck it back in down there.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I understand.
And if you go back to Michael Keaton's Batman and Batman Forever. Or Batman Returns, think about how he deals with the circus gang. The smile on his face as he puts a grenade and shoves the guy down. So, yeah.
And they were good Batmobiles, FYI.
They were. So I think that's almost 50 minutes.
Oh, do you say that in a podcast? Do you?
No. I'm saying it because I just didn't realise we talked for that long.
Okay.
So I think we might end up there. Because I really want to have more time to talk with you in our next podcast.
Okay.
I don't want this to be just a one-time thing.
No.
But yeah, thanks for joining me today.
No worries.
And getting this off the ground, and really fun to see someone else who enjoys talking sci-fi elements of the positive stuff that we can get out there.
That's it. Yes. No worries, Jason.
Oh, good. Okay, guys. We'll catch up with you at a later time.